Dear students of Honors Part 4, hopefully you are keeping well. I am Siddhartha Shankar, an assistant professor in English in Government Horoganga College, Munshiganj. Dear students, we are discussing on the novella entitled The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. In my last lecture, I have discussed on the character of Mr. Kurtz, the central character of this novella. Today, I would like to discuss on another character who is basically there is a controversy over it. Who is the central character, Mr. Marlowe or Mr. Kurtz? But from critics' review, we came to know that, or uh, we can come to a conclusion that Kurtz is the protagonist of this novel. Still, the character named Marlowe also can be discussed with same importance. Basically, beside Marlowe and Kurtz, all other things in this novel can be considered as secondary thing. Therefore, today I would like to discuss on this very important character named Mr. Marlowe. Mr. Marlowe basically is a man of good sense. He is a psychologist and great artist, a great narrator. He is a very educated person. Therefore, he describes or narrates the novel in such a way that he puts the every details of this novel in such a way or in such a manner that we the seasoned readers can grasp what is the theme of this novel, what is the basic mm, uh, basic idea of this novel. Therefore, this novel became vivid to us. The story became very much vivid to us because of the discussion, because of the narration of Mr. Marlowe. Here, in this context, we can say that Mr. Marlowe basically represent Joseph Conrad himself. Joseph Conrad, the novelist, also had a desire from his boyhood to travel into the deep of this undiscovered region entitled African Congo. And Marlowe basically represents Mr. Marlowe, that our novelist Conrad. Here you see that Mr. Conrad also had very psychological bent of life. He is a great artist, and he is a man of action. He is a moralist, and all these qualities, all these type of characteristics are found in Marlowe. And Marlowe in this novel uh, that Joseph Conrad himself also had an experience to travel in deep into that African territory, and here in this novel, through Marlowe, through Marlowe, that Joseph Conrad has explained his experience in that uncivilized region. Uh, and here we find that some characteristics of Mr. Marlowe, that is, he is a fearless person. You see that he is a great sea voyager. He was not afraid of that unknown region at all, and from the central station he had a trip to the inner station to rescue Mr. Kurtz. Mr. Kurtz was an ailing person at that time. Therefore, he took the central manager and some other persons with him to travel in the inner station and he was almost fearless in this journey. And you see, he controlled the uh, cruise of this ship with a very experienced way. And you know that the cannibals were in that ship as their assistants, but he was not afraid of cannibals, means that natives. He was not afraid of them at all, and he was a very ready mind. That means he could decide instantly what to do during perils. And at one occasion, some that barbaric people attacked them when they were on the journey. And at that time, that Mr. Marlowe made some sound with guns, and that barbarian people, the savage people, were afraid of it, and they escaped. So therefore, here we find that Mr. Marlowe was basically a fearless man, and he was a man of action. And another characteristic of Marlowe is that his power of observation and description. Here you know that Mr. Marlowe is basically a narrator in this novel, and he narrator, and at the same time he was in close contact with all the characters of this novel. And we came to know that every details of the story from his great narration. And the description of this novel is such, he described the novel in such so vividly that we can know everything, we can see everything in front of us. That means he used imagery. He drew image with pen, with words, and it became very practical, or very evident or vivid to us. Everything became very vivid to us. For example, at the beginning, we find that a French chief was firing aimlessly in the jungle, and this basically proved the futility of the colonialism. And again, you will find that here, through the description we get that the brutal treatment of the of the natives by the white people. And at one occasion we see that 6 people were chained with iron chain, and they were very much lean and thick, lean and thin. And this such type of brutality was expressed very much, very evidently. And the white man's inaction in that region is also reflected here. The machinery were wasted, manpower were wasted. So everything has been described in such a way that we came to know the effect, the bad side of imperialism quite effectively. And the characters in this novel basically are unnamed, but everything about the characters has been described in a very natural way, and we came to know about all the characters, and we can we can develop a great idea about all the characters. We came to know about the manager of the central station, the brickmaker, the Russian, and especially Mr. Kurz. And all the characters are discussed in a very natural way. And that from this basically became to possible because of his great power of description. That is, he was basically a psychologist, and he got deep. He went deep into the psychology of these characters, and the readers came to know about them quite effectively. And here another thing we can say that here Mr. Kurtz not only explored, Mr. Marlowe not only explored the dark region of Congo, but he explored in his own mind, and he peeped into his own recesses of mind. Here you see that Mr. Marlowe has was a confirmed moralist. He was a moralist. He was also an idealist also, and he described all the people there, all the people of who are setting colony as faithless pilgrims. And here he was greatly influenced by that environment also, and when he came to contact with the barbarism, he himself developed some sort of barbarism or some sort of savagery in him, because it seems that he is going to lose his idealism or good sense, but at the end he could refrain himself, or he could have relief from such savagery. Therefore, he had a journey through his own mind also. And Mr. Kurtz had also a great influence on Mr. Marlowe, because at the beginning he heard a lot of things from other characters about Mr. Kurtz, and he came to understand that Mr. Kurtz himself had become a savage, because he took part in midnight dances, which usually ended with unspeakable rites. That means he got involved with some practices of barbarism. And when he was going through the deep forest to the inner station, he was going to the inner station through the deep forest. The effect of that region, effect of that barbaric practice also influenced him a lot. And Miss Marlowe never told lies, but in some occasions he came in contact with lies, because he himself compared or entitled the missionaries as faithless pilgrims. He is also an agent of the faithless pilgrims. This is a controversy in his character, of course. And he also mixed with the people like brickmaker or the manager of the central station, and these people basically are hollow in character, and Mr. Marlowe had to mix with them, these people with a great fault. And certainly that Marlowe also developed some sort of the characteristics of the colonialists in his mind also. And Mr. Marlowe came in contact with that perverted person, Mr. Kurtz, and he rescued him eventually from that savage place. But Mr. Kurtz died, and at the time of his death, Mr. Kurtz uttered uttered two words, that is the horror. That basically reflects the confession of his sin, that he was involved in. He himself became the savage. That he himself became a savage, and the last words of Mr. Kurtz basically reflects the confession of truth. and here we will find that the novel Heart of Darkness shows that primitivism can be developed in human being when such opportunity or such environments creates. Even the civilized people or the educated people can be turned to a savage man when he came in touch with such environment. Therefore, mm, therefore, basically, this is the instinct of human being, and that in the we are basically the wrapped in the dress of civilization. But when we will get the opportunity, when the environment will come, we may become savage again. And this is basically we find this psychology or this theme through the narration or through the character of Mr. Marlowe. Dear students, today through this discussion I had tried to discuss on the characteristic of this great narrator named Marlowe. Hopefully you have learned something from today's lecture. Thanks for watching.